Thanks. Good evening, folks. My name is Rich Kindle, and I'm the Fire Chief and Emergency Management Director for the town of Scarborough. I'd like to also introduce District Chief Gary Sandler, who is my Deputy Emergency Management Director. And we'd like to welcome you here to the Scarborough Public Safety Building to have an opportunity to have a discussion with our partners in FEMA who are helping us in the recovery of the January 9th through 13th storm that some of us experienced some damages and had some issues that we got to try and get ourselves through. FEMA has been an absolute great partner, from public assistance to individual assistance to small business. We can't thank them enough for them being here. We wanted to have an opportunity to get a disaster recovery center open here in Scarborough, and they've really helped us kind of navigate some of the challenges we were having with space. So we're doing a few of these pop-up sessions where people can come here and do their registration and ask questions of FEMA. So thank you for coming tonight. I wish we had a little bit more notice, but we're working really closely with timelines to get this going. But we do have 3 other sessions that are going to be coming up. They won't be speakers bureaus, but there'll be 3 other dates that will be open here for FEMA to help people get registered and get their damages or answer questions as they're here. And those are on April 30th, May 2nd, and May 9th, all from noon. Sorry, the 30th is 2 to 6 p.m. only because there's a conflict in the room, and the other dates are noon to 6 p.m. So there'll be a 6-hour period each one of those times. I'm very happy to present this board of speakers that'll be able to answer some questions and also give a little bit of an overview of what they're here for and what they do. And I thank you all for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Director Kindleman and Deputy Director Sandler, for hosting us and being such a great host for us here this evening. My name is Mark Molina with FEMA Operations. I'm essentially in my role liaison to the county and assisting them in what their needs are, and working with these other wonderful programs here to help assist the community. I'm joined tonight by my PA program subject matter expert, Bert Ventura, Brian Beard from SBA sitting next to him, and Sam Harvey with individual assistance. And I'll go ahead and defer to Bert if you would like to go ahead and speak in the program. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us. So my name is Bert Ventura, and I'm representing the FEMA's public assistance here in the great state of Maine. So just what I'd like to do today is just give you an overview of the public assistance program and what it can do for your community. So public assistance provides federal grants for communities to respond to and recover from emergencies or major disaster declarations. Now, public assistance is available for things like debris removal, emergency protective measures, and for permanent work, which could include restoration of eligible public-owned facilities. Now, public assistance is a supplemental reimbursement program, meaning that the community, or the applicant, let's say, for example, I'll use the applicant, and that could mean a fire department, it could mean the city, it could mean a private, certain eligible private nonprofits. They would submit a request for a federal grant from FEMA. You would, that applicant would conduct the work, would complete the work needed, and FEMA would reimburse you for the work. Now, the reimbursement program typically is a cost share program where FEMA provides 75% of the eligible grant, and then the applicant is responsible for the remaining 25%. Fortunately for you all, the state of Maine later comes in and jumps in, and that 25% that you all would be responsible for, they cover 15% of that. So you're left with basically 10% of the project cost. So to use simple math, if there's a $100,000 project or a $100,000 grant, FEMA would provide $75,000. The state would provide $15,000, and the applicant, you all would be responsible for approximately $10,000 of that grant. Now, we have, with public assistance, we categorize the types of the categories of work into 7 different categories, categories A through G. Now, the first 2 categories, categories A and B, are what we call emergency work. Emergency work in category A, for example, includes debris removal. Now, that's debris removal from public right-of-way, public debris that's laying out in areas that the city, town, or eligible applicant is responsible for maintaining or clearing. It unfortunately does not include debris in an applicant's on an applicant's property. So, you know, if a tree came down in their yard, landed in their driveway, that is not covered under public assistance. However, if that debris is on the street, on the right of way, if it makes its way to the right of way, the city then would be responsible for collecting up that debris, removing it, disposing of it, and that is an eligible cost that would be reimbursed by FEMA. The next one, category B, is emergency protective measures. This is your firefighters out there evacuating folks during a storm or during a flood, rescuing someone on an island who's maybe a bridge was washed out and rescuing folks. The police blocking roads, putting up blockades, putting up signs, you know, directing traffic to stay away from certain areas, setting up an EOC and running an EOC. All of those things are eligible for public assistance grants. And then in those two categories, categories A and B, typically there is a 6-month deadline to complete the work, meaning the disaster was declared. This particular disaster, 4764, was declared, I believe, March 30th.
January 30th.
January 30th.
January 28th, I'm sorry.
January 28th. So from that date, you'd have 6 months to complete the work. If the work is not complete, it's as simple as the applicant contacting your state representative and requesting an extension. I've never seen one declined. I mean, for a valid reason. I mean, say, you know, we're working on it, we can't get it done, and we need an extension. I've always seen it granted. Then we move into what we call permanent work, category C through G. Category C covers roads, bridges, culverts, and when we say roads, a road was washed out, or a road was damaged, a bridge was damaged, or something like that. Culverts were destroyed during a storm because they were overwhelmed by water, debris, or whatever. All of those things fall under category C. Category D would be water control facilities, sewage plants, water treatment plants, things of that nature. Category E, public buildings and contents. This would be a category E. If this building received damage, this would be a category E. FEMA can provide a grant to cover damage into the building. Let's say the building flooded and damaged carpets, drywall, what have you, that would be eligible. But in addition to that, category E also covers the contents of the building. So if you lost paperwork, books, computers, things of that nature. Police cars, maybe a police car was over, you know, it was flooded and it was totaled. That would be an eligible category E item. Fire truck, things of that nature. Then we move over to category F, and these are your public utilities. I know many smaller communities don't typically have what we call rural electrical co-ops. They're usually private nonprofits that provide all of the power. They deliver the power to all of the homes, and they're the ones that you pay for the power. Those are all eligible applicants to public utilities. And then the last category is category G, which typically covers parks, recreational facilities. But I like to say everything else that we did wasn't covered in one of the other categories. We can pretty much get it covered in there. And then lastly, there is and this one is not one of the 7. This is what we have is category Z, which covers management costs. We understand, FEMA understands that your time is valuable. I mean, you have staff that were hired to do certain jobs, and spending hours a week working with FEMA is pulling them away from doing their job. So we category Z will help reimburse you for that time that any of your employees spent working on this FEMA grant, meeting FEMA representatives for meetings, meeting the site inspectors to go out and look at a damaged facility, all of those things. You would capture that and keep good track of that. And the way that category Z works is it's 5% of the total projects for that applicant. So let's say an applicant, let's say Scarborough Fire Department, let's say you all have 5 projects and they end up totaling, just gonna use a simple number, they end up totaling $1 million total for all of your projects. You all would be eligible for 5% of that total, that $1 million, in category Z, management costs, so that would be $50,000. Granted, you'd have to show, evidence that you actually, your folks, that you can account for that time, and you can demonstrate that, yes, our folks put this many hours into helping FEMA formulate this grant, and then you can get reimbursed for that. So some of the main steps for requesting public assistance, I like to say, the long pole in the tent is submitting a request for public assistance, what we call an RPA. The RPA deadline was tomorrow, but we have extended that out to May the 18th. So there's another month left. As of today, there's still 30 days for folks to go out there and apply for public assistance. And that is done through the Grants Portal platform. Grants Portal is a system that talks to Grants Manager, which is what FEMA uses. So your FEMA representatives will be formulating projects, uploading documents, and putting everything together on the grants management side. You as the applicant would submit documents, sign documents, whatever you need to do, you would do it on the Grants Portal side. These two systems talk to each other. Everything is done through there, so it's very important that you all get access to the Grants Portal so that you can so that we can get the process started. If you do not have access to Grants Portal because you haven't participated in a prior event, it would be a matter of contacting your state emergency management representative, and they can help you. They can set you up, they can get you a password, and they can walk you through the steps. Once that request for public assistance is submitted, that goes to the state first. The state reviews it, ensures that you are actually an eligible applicant, and then it moves into my queue. When it comes into my queue, I'll review it also. I'll take a look and say, yep, they look like they're an eligible applicant, they have damages. I approve it, and at that point, I assign a program delivery manager, what we call a PDMG. By the way, FEMA has more acronyms than any other organization I've ever seen in my life, so there's a lot. So you'll get a program delivery manager assigned to you, and that program delivery manager will work with you from the beginning all the way to the end till obligation, till funds get obligated to you and all of your projects are completed. So I keep using this word projects. I'd like to explain that a little bit further. Once that program delivery manager is assigned to you to work with you, that program delivery manager within 7 days will reach out to you to schedule, to conduct an exploratory call. He'll give you a call and say, hey, I'm Bert Ventura, I'm assigned to help you. What are your damages? Just give me a quick overview of your damages, anything you need at the moment. And most importantly, the object of that phone call is to set up a recovery scoping meeting. That recovery scoping meeting will happen no later than 21 days after that exploratory call was conducted. During that recovery scoping meeting, that program delivery manager will sit with you, and together with you, he will help you build a damage inventory where you identify all of the damages that you have sustained. You don't have to have them all. I get asked this question all the time. What if I don't know all the damages? It's okay. Bring as many as you can that day. We have up to 60 days from that point to discover any further damages. Sometimes you're moving debris on day 45 and you discover that under that debris, the road was washed out under it. I hadn't seen it because there was debris over it. We can still add that to the damage inventory. Once we have a good damage inventory, that program delivery manager can start grouping those damages and creating projects. And those projects then, so let's say you have 3 roads, a building, and some debris, for example. All of that can't go into one project. We'll create a project for the debris, we'll create a project for the building, and we'll create a project for the category C for the roads. That program delivery manager will work with you to gather up any documentation we need to make sure that we can move this through as smoothly as possible and process this, the projects. So once we put together that project, we've gathered all of that information from you, we forward that to our consolidated resource center. They review it, they ensure that, and 50 people review that project, take a look at it and make sure we've crossed all the T's, dotted all the I's, everything is good. We have all the supporting documentation. And once everything is good, it comes back to me. I review it again, I say, yep, looks good, and I approve it. Obligation, funds get obligated and sent down to the state. And then the state, Maine Emergency Management, passes those funds down to you all. So that's the order that it comes. FEMA because the state is the recipient, the state of Maine is the recipient, and you all as a city, as a fire department, as a private nonprofit are the sub-recipient, the applicant. So that's the way that that flows. As soon as we can get those documents and we can get all of that submitted, the faster we can move this process along. Okay, all of the damages that you claim during this process or that you submit into that damage inventory have to have occurred during the incident period, which was January the 9th through the 13th. And one of the things that the program delivery manager will ask you when you say, for example, this road was damaged, he's gonna ask you, okay, are you legally responsible to maintain that road? Yes, I am. Okay, great. Have you been maintaining that road? We're gonna take a look in Google Maps. We're gonna use a couple of other software programs that that can do some temporal research. And if we look back and that road was destroyed a year or two prior and it looks the same as it does today, then maybe that road wasn't maintained. And then that can create a problem in the past. So it has, because at the end of the day, the FEMA public assistance grants are not to make things new, but they are to get you back to where you were the day before the disaster. That is our goal. The incident period was January 9th through the 13th. We want to get you back to the same state you were in January the 8th, the day before the disaster. So that is the goal here. I mentioned earlier private nonprofits. There are certain private nonprofits that are eligible for public assistance, just like a state or local government entity would be. And those are private nonprofits, and our policy guides and federal regulation, federal law specifically highlights what type of the type of services that a private nonprofit provides qualifies them or not for public assistance. For example, we call them a critical private nonprofit or a non-critical private nonprofit, or rather they provide an essential service or they provide a non-essential service. I don't make this up. This is these are the laws, so we have to abide by them. An example of an essential private nonprofit would be a volunteer fire department, a volunteer ambulance service, a school. I've seen, and then an example of a non-essential private nonprofit would be like a church, for example. They're still eligible, but they are not a critical private nonprofit, which means they'd be eligible for a FEMA grant for emergency work, categories A and B. But if they have permanent work, categories C through G, a non-critical P&P would need to request a SBA loan first before FEMA public assistance could assist them. So I'll give you an example. I've run into this situation before where there was a church that there was a church and it had a school attached to it, and the school, it was a K through 8 accredited school. That school, the whole building was damaged. The church and the school. Well, the school is an essential, is a critical private nonprofit. They're eligible for categories A through G, and for public assistance categories A through G. The church, the rectory, was eligible for Cat A and B, but they had to go to SBA to request a loan for any permanent work because they are deemed non-essential. So we could break off and say the school, any repairs done in the school, we can cover. Anything over here, you first have to go through SBA. So with that, there were two types of projects that we do with public assistance. There are small projects and then there are large projects. Small projects are preferred because they move through the system quicker and we can get you your money quicker. And small projects range from a minimum threshold of $3,900, so you have to have at least $3,900 in damages, up to $1,300,700. Anything over that becomes a large project, and that one just they're fine. If that's what it costs, that's what it costs. But that one, the process is going to just take a little bit longer because there's a little bit more paperwork that is involved in that. That has to go up to, that has to be reviewed by Congress and stuff because it's a larger amount of money. I think we've covered everything I wanted to cover now. Are there any questions at this point from anyone in the room or zooming in would like to ask?
Or if I could just give a quick update on where we stand in that.
Yes, sir.
District Chief Sandler and I, as the EMA directors we're to the whole town. So we handle all the damages for public, whether it's police, fire, all that stuff. the minute the rain stopped on the January 13th storm, we were already gathering data for our preliminary damage assessment, which allows us to even understand if we're eligible. Just for your knowledge, Scarborough has put in $5.5 million of damages from that storm. We have a very large project on Black Point Road, if any of you are from the area, where the road is completely washed out and unpassable. So we have that, but we immediately went into that, and we also have, I'm not sure if they're considered a nonprofit, but we have a sanitary district that is not part of the town that is doing their own process with FEMA because they're eligible through as a sanitary essential service.
Sure.
They sustained a significant amount of damage in the Higgins Beach area. So they're also eligible to put in their own, and we work right alongside them to make sure they have all the information. We've already established our RPA. The day that the briefing in the state was, that night, we had the RPA already in place. So we're just waiting to get assigned a PDMG or PMDG. I get that also.
Yeah, PDMG, Program Delivery Manager, yes.
So as far as public, all that stuff he shared with you is important, but I want you to know that we were on it. Chief Sandler, myself, and the town manager, the minute it stopped raining on the 13th that afternoon, we were in the neighborhoods collecting damage assessments and doing things. So we're all over that part, and we will, while that's great information, we will handle all that for you and make sure that gets done.
Excellent. And I'd also add, I'd encourage any organization, any private nonprofit out there, or any city or town, or any eligible entity, if they're in doubt whether they're eligible or not, apply, and because you just don't want to miss that deadline. You don't want to miss and be left out. You know, let us review it, and we're going to try everything that we can to get to a yes, always legally, ethically, and morally. So as long as I can get to a yes, I will get to a yes. So, that's all I have. Thank you today.
Perfect. Thank you. Appreciate that, Bert. Next we go to Small Business Administration, Mr. Brian Beard.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, my name is Brian Beard. I'm a public affairs specialist for the Small Business Administration Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience. And we work alongside FEMA whenever there's a presidential disaster declaration, such as for the January storms that you've already heard about. And we offer low interest, long-term loans to cover any damages that are not covered by insurance or FEMA or another source. So these loans, even though people sometimes assume that we only deal with businesses because of our name, but the Small Business Administration, during a disaster such as this one, we offer these low interest loans to homeowners, renters, businesses of all sizes, and nonprofit organizations. So if you live in any of the 8 counties, coastal counties of Maine that were part of this disaster declaration from the January storms, and you had damage to your home, personal property, contents of the home, or business or nonprofit, you can apply for a low interest loan from the SBA. There's no cost to apply, and there's no interest or payments for the first year of the loan. And because there's no prepayment penalty, if you pay off that loan in less than a year, there's no interest charged. After that first year with no interest or payments, then the interest rate for most homeowners and renters is as low as 2.688%. For businesses, it's as low as 4%, and for nonprofits at 3.25%. And even if you've already used a credit card or gotten a bank loan to fund the money that you needed to repair your home or business or replace business inventory or equipment, you can still get an SBA loan and replace that more expensive debt that you might have gone into, or replace your nest egg with that low interest loan from the SBA. Show pictures of the damage and receipts of the money you've already spent to make repairs. The inspector can look at the repairs made and approve that loan, so you can get that money to pay off that more expensive debt that you might have incurred. If you're still waiting on a decision from your insurance company, or still not sure whether you might need a loan for your recovery, we encourage people to go ahead and apply now and decide later, since it's free to apply. And if you do get offered a loan, you have 2 months to decide whether you want to accept it or not, and you can easily decline that loan at no cost to you. So keep your options open, apply now and decide later. The loan terms can be up to 30 years with very reasonable payments. So a loan of $24,000 for a homeowner or a renter at a 30-year term at that 2.688% would only come out to about a little over $70 a month for that 30-year term. So it's very affordable. If you have a high insurance deductible, even if your insurance covers most of the damage, you can get a loan just to cover that insurance deductible. And also, in addition to the amount of damage that's not covered by insurance, for that loan, you can add on to that loan amount, request an additional 20% of the total estimated damage for mitigation to build back stronger and prevent future damage. So you could raise your electrical panel or your utilities, your furnace, et cetera, in your basement several more feet off the ground, so they're not as likely to get flooded in the future. You could put in a sump pump, put on a stronger roof to minimize future wind damage, or change the landscaping or put in a retaining wall to try to prevent future flooding, things like that. We encourage people to build back stronger. For loans up to $25,000, there's no collateral or closing costs. So if your loan is $25,000 or less, you don't have to have a lien against your home or business. So sometimes people have a little more damage than that, they will just get the $25,000 loan. If you get offered a certain amount, you can always accept a smaller amount. You don't have to accept the full amount. You can easily decline or accept part of that loan offer. Based on the amount of estimated damage and your ability to repay, homeowners can get up to $500,000 to repair their home. Homeowners and renters can borrow up to $100,000 for personal property damage, the contents of the home. And then businesses and nonprofits can borrow up to $2 million for a combination of physical damage to the business or to inventory or equipment or machinery. Also for mitigation, you want to get that extra 20% of the total damage, and also for working capital. So even if a small business or a private nonprofit didn't have any physical damage, but they had a drop in sales income as a result of the disaster, they lost electricity for a week, or clients or their suppliers just weren't giving them as much business, and they're difficult for them to meet their monthly expenses, you can get a working capital loan to cover those monthly expenses until your business is back up to speed again. For homeowners and renters that have damage, it's important to register first with FEMA to see if you can get grant assistance from FEMA. FEMA will make sure the home is safe and secure to live in. But when you register with FEMA, they do a quick income check, and if your income is over a certain level, you may be referred to the SBA for a loan for personal property damage. FEMA would still make sure the home is safe to live in, but for the personal property damage, you might get that letter referring you to the SBA. If you get that referral, it's important to follow through and go ahead and apply, even if you don't want a loan, because if it's free to apply, and if your loan application gets denied after being referred from FEMA, then you might be referred back to FEMA for additional assistance for personal property damage, for the basic necessities for your needs for personal property. And if you do get offered a loan, you have 2 months to decide and can easily decline that loan offer at no cost to you. So if you get that referral letter, go ahead and apply. Keep your options open. You can decide later. There are several steps in the application process, so we encourage people to stay on top of things. If you can do it online at lending.sba.gov, or call our customer service center at 1-800-659-2955 and talk with somebody, get your questions answered. You can also write to disaster customer service at sba.gov with your questions. But a lot of people prefer to visit somebody in person, so you can go to one of our recovery centers. The SBA has business recovery centers where there's just staff from SBA there, but there are also disaster recovery centers that are set up by FEMA and the local counties that have both FEMA and SBA staff. So as the chief mentioned that there will be some more events here in Scarborough on certain days that people can come in. There's also a disaster recovery center in Wells at 585 North Berwick Road in Wells. That's open 7 days a week, 8 to 6. And there's also another one in Harpswell Island, on Wars Island, at the old Wars Island Schoolhouse. And then we have a business recovery center for the SBA at 701 Route 1 in Yarmouth, at the Patriot Insurance Building, at the Currency Institute. And you can go there 9 to 6 Monday through Friday, or 9 to 3 on Saturday as well to get assistance. But if you do get a letter saying that you've been denied or put on withdrawn status, that may just mean that you haven't submitted all the documentation. We can't properly assess your ability to repay, et cetera, or prove your identity, et cetera. So you need to follow up, read that letter carefully, and submit any more documents you need, either come to a recovery center or go on the online portal and upload those documents before you click on a button saying request, asking for reacceptance or reconsideration. It's also important to make sure you include all your assets and the income of everyone in the household when you apply to demonstrate the ability to repay. Don't just include the income of the homeowner, but include everybody's income, because that will increase your chances of being accepted for that loan. One Bert had mentioned before about public assistance for public roads. If you have a private driveway or you use a private road to get to your home, and there was enough flood damage that it was washed out so that an emergency vehicle cannot reach your home, then you want to make sure to register with FEMA first, because if an emergency vehicle can't reach your home, that makes the home not safe and secure. So you may be able to get some assistance from FEMA, or multiple people, if it's their primary residence, that live on the same road, could all register and pool their money together to fix that road. But anything not covered by FEMA or insurance, you could get a low interest loan from the SBA to cover that driveway damage if it's the primary residence where you live more than half the year and an emergency vehicle cannot access your home. Because there's so many people in the aquaculture, fishing, crabbing, lobstering, et cetera, in this area, want to make sure people are aware that our business loans do cover inventory and equipment. So our loans do not cover agriculture activities for farming, but for aquaculture, for fishing, we can help with business equipment that could include a boat or dock or lines and traps, et cetera, from somebody fishing as their line of business. And then one last thing, while our homeowner loans for damage to the home are for your primary residence where you live at least half the year, if you have a vacation home rental or that's being used as a rental property, or multiple rental properties, and you're earning rental income and paying taxes on that rental income just like a business, then you can apply for a business loan as low as 4% to cover the cost to repair the damage to that rental property. Okay, so if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
We got this question locally a lot about Scarborough is pretty robust with vacation homes down on the shoreline. Short-term rentals, things like that, people who use those homes for VRBOs, would they fall under SBA, or would that, if it's their second home, I know that makes them, sometimes it makes them ineligible anyway, correct? But if they're using it as a VRBO or Airbnb.
Yeah, neither FEMA nor SBA will cover a secondary home. But if that secondary home is being rented out, like I said, if you're earning rental income and paying taxes on that rental income, if your tax returns show that you've been paying taxes on rental income, you're functioning like a business, even if it's not incorporated or anything, that could still qualify as a business loan. So, and it's free to apply. So, encourage everybody to apply now and decide later.
Thank you, Brian. With that, last but not least, we'll go to Mr. Sam Harvey with individual assistance.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Sam Harvey. I work with FEMA on the individual assistance side. So we got a great overview of public assistance, your roads, your bridges. Individual assistance focuses on your homeowners, your renters, your citizens that live in the community that may have been impacted. Again, we're looking at impacts that occurred between January 9th and January 13th, those storm series there. And any damage that might have occurred to the physical home. So really focusing on the four walls, the roof, the floors, but also any required components. So your HVAC, if you have a private well, private septic, those might be covered for under individual assistance. Again, it could be for homeowners or for folks who are renting. It's not focused as much on things like if you had a yard that was damaged, you had a shed, if you had an outbuilding, non-essential areas of the home, which may include things like seawalls. I know that comes up a lot in these communities. When in doubt, I would encourage you to apply, but generally we're looking at the four walls of the home and what it takes to make those functional. We're also looking at primary homes. So 6 months or more out of the year, if somebody is living in that home, if you're on the fence, if you're 6 months here, 6 months somewhere else, some consideration might be, are you registered to vote here? Is your car registered here? Let those kind of guide whether you're considered a primary homeowner here. For folks who had damage, who think they might have damage or are not quite sure, I would encourage any of those folks to apply. There are a couple ways to do that. The first is to call FEMA's helpline. That's the 1-800-621-3362 or 1-800-621-FEMA. That will connect you to somebody. You can tell them I had damage, I would like to register. They'll walk through the process. It takes 20-25 minutes to go through the steps. You can also go online to disasterassistance.gov. That's disasterassistance.gov. You can create an online account. You can register and start the process right from your phone or computer. You can also download the FEMA app to do the same process. Or you can come into one of our disaster recovery centers. It was mentioned we have some in Wells, up in Harpswell, and a few other communities throughout the coast. There you can sit down, talk to somebody face to face. You can apply for assistance. You can ask questions about the status of your case. You can upload documents, do a lot of those steps. You can't do it at home, or if you're just simply more comfortable talking to one-on-one with one of our staff, we encourage you to come and do that. You may also encounter some of our disaster survivor assistance folks. They are out in the communities. Our good folks at the end of the row here are going to be out to be able to answer basic questions about the process, what to expect, and help to get you registered so you can get that assistance going. Once you register, one of the first things that you might experience, usually within about 3, maybe 4 days, is you'll get a call from a FEMA inspector. This will be your first opportunity to set up a time to meet at the damaged dwelling at your home to go over the amount of damage you had, to show them the walls that were damaged, show them the floor, those areas. You don't have to have documentation, but it's certainly helpful to have receipts, pictures, videos, estimates. Any of those things are really good to hang on to, just to be able to show the extent of the damage, because during that inspection, you want to show them as much of the damage as you can, because that's what determines the amount of assistance for which you might be eligible. So make sure you have time to show that inspector and meet them out at your home. Once that's occurred, usually within 7 to 10 days, that's where you'll start to receive your assistance. Now, if it's it can come either a paper check in the mail or through electronic funds transfer. I would strongly encourage you to select electronic funds transfer. It's faster and it's a lot less likely that there could be delays. It can be very difficult to get a FEMA check canceled and reissued. So I encourage you to go the electronic route if you're comfortable with that. There are 3 main types of assistance that FEMA offers. The first one being rental assistance. That's for folks who may have been displaced from their primary homes, had to find someplace temporary while repairs are being made, or if you're a renter and maybe your rental property was damaged or destroyed, assistance to be able to help you move into a new place so that you're not burdened with first month's, last month's security. That can be an upfront burden. And then also, if you're a homeowner and you're still paying a mortgage on your damaged property, this rental assistance can help you pay for a temporary place until you're able to move back. The second type of assistance is for the damage to your real property, so your walls, your floors, the roof, any of that type. If you had to pull out drywall, you had to pull out insulation and get all that replaced. It can also potentially cover driveways. So if you had a private driveway or if you live on a private road, again, if it was inaccessible or made inaccessible because of the damage, I would encourage people to apply and see what FEMA assistance might be available to help with that. And then the third bucket of assistance is for your personal property. So your living room set, dining room set, your clothes, your vehicle, all of those things that your stuff that might have been damaged, you can apply for and potentially receive assistance. Now, the assistance that FEMA provides, it's something that we cannot duplicate insurance coverage. So if you have either homeowners, renters insurance, flood insurance, we encourage you to apply to that first. And if they cover it and they provide assistance, that's great. That's why you've been paying for it. If they don't cover it, you'll get some sort of a denial letter. Show that to FEMA, and we move right forward with your assistance. So we want you to go through the insurance process first. From here, a couple other things to consider for FEMA assistance. We're really trying to jumpstart your recovery. So it's not going to be assistance that will replace everything. It won't put paint back on the walls and hang the pictures, but it will get your home back to a place where it's safe, it's sanitary, and it's functional. And I mentioned earlier that includes your HVAC. We had a lot of homes around here that have basements. So your furnace, your hot water heater, your boiler, all of those things might have sustained damage. Those are potentially covered by FEMA assistance. So if you had, even if you had to pay to have somebody come out, maybe just clean it out, again, that's a cost incurred to you. We want to encourage you to apply for that assistance. We do have a number of disaster recovery centers. So as folks are going through this process, if they have questions, I encourage them to come in, ask one of our staff, sit down, ask the questions, get some one-on-one feedback. You can also call into the FEMA helpline from 7 in the morning until 1 o'clock in the morning. So pretty much all day, ask questions, talk to somebody, get updates on your case. So we appreciate everybody's help in getting the word out, encouraging people to apply. As of this morning, we've had there's about $1.3 million that's gone out across the state of Maine. So people are applying, word is getting out there, and assistance is getting out there. Okay, so we encourage anybody who had that type of damage to apply for assistance. Happy to answer any questions about individual assistance. The deadline to register is May 20th. So you have to get your initial application in.
We've got quite a few homes that have permanent whole house generators that were flooded by salt water that you can't repair them and dry them out because they've already rusted up already. And apparently those aren't covered by homeowners. Is there a method or a path that someone can work with you guys or to get some either partial or have that type of stuff replaced or?
Yeah, it's potential if you had a home generator system. I would encourage them to apply. Again, it can't be covered by insurance, or if you had a warranty on it, obviously you'd have to go through that process first. But you know, if it was damaged and it's not otherwise coverage, put it in an application, have an inspector come out and start that process and see what it can cover. Now, that doesn't mean that it would be able to replace everything that was there, but even if it's repair costs or getting back some semblance of the system is potential.
I would encourage everyone, if you're waiting to hear from FEMA about whether something might be covered, you can go ahead and apply for the loan as well by the same deadline of May 20th and keep your options open because it's free to apply. And if you learn that your insurance is not covering as much as you thought, or FEMA is not covering as much as you thought it would, you already have that application in the system that, as another option. You can always decide later. If you get that loan offer, you have 2 months to decide and you can decline it at no cost.
And we don't want anybody to wait on making repairs, thinking that well, FEMA has to see it while it's still damaged, especially if it's critical repairs. Go forward, make those repairs if you're able to. Keep documents, keep estimates, keep receipts, take pictures, but don't wait on FEMA's behalf in order to start making those repairs.
If I could make just a quick comment about, and thank you for the individual assistance piece, that's been a really big part. I think we've had over 71 applicants in just Scarborough alone. And Chief Sandler and I and the town manager, when we went out the day of the storm, we were asking residents, make sure you apply for, and I've never had to process or go through a process where individual assistance came into play. But the reason why they're here is because the citizens of Scarborough took the time to apply, make their damages known, and it's really helped us get that declaration. There was a lot of questions when the chief and I were going around and they're saying, well, does this guarantee we're getting money? It's like the first step doesn't guarantee the money, but it gets FEMA in here to understand what our damages are and what our needs are. And it's really a statewide or a countywide thing, so I can't thank the community enough for making sure they put those damages in, because that's what really got FEMA to be able to come here and provide these services for us. So it's a really important step, is that initial application. And sometimes like, well, why do I waste my time? They're not gonna promise me the money. It gets them here to start that process.
There's no cost to apply, there's no penalty for withdrawal. Any assistance from FEMA is not considered income, it's a grant, so it won't affect your social security, disability, any of those benefits.
All my questions, a quiet room.
I'd like to thank all the gentlemen here for speaking about their programs and sharing their expertise with us and with the public at large. Really appreciate all your information. Thank you. Thank you, Chief Kindleman and Chief Sandler, for your hospitality and hosting us here. I appreciate that. And then if you have any other questions for us, please contact us at any time. And with that, we'll turn the floor back over to you.
And we certainly want to encourage everybody for those 3 other dates. If you have any questions about the FEMA process, the Scarborough Police Department, Scarborough Fire Department, and Town of Scarborough's all social media, any new information we get, we're posting stuff rapidly, and sometimes it changes quickly. So please follow our pages so you can get up-to-date information. You can always call our non-emergency number here at the fire station. Either myself or Chief Sandler will help answer your questions, put you in contact with the right people at FEMA. We're here to serve you. We're here to get this town back to some good shape, and whatever we can do to help that facilitate that along, we will certainly do that. It's been a tough season. I've been doing EMA. The chief and I talked. We've been doing EMA a long time, and this is the first year that I've had to spend so much time talking with these fine folks and deal with FEMA from this perspective. So thank you. Thank you to the DSAs for coming in and helping the citizens that you were able to help today. Please pass that information on to your neighbors and friends, that they can come in here and get some really good information and get their process, get the ball rolling right here in this room. So anything, Chief?
Covered it all. Thank you once again, and look forward to the other 3 dates we have.